As the great Booker T. Washington says, success leaves footprints. Please join me in welcoming Mike Stinger Glenn.
Thank you so much, Morris Baxter. I listen to Morris every day. We're real good friends for many, many years. He does a fantastic job. And thank all of you for coming here this evening. As he mentioned, there were many places that you could have been. So I just want to share some history, American history and stamps. I am a book collector first and foremost. I have thousands of first edition rare books, but I found there are also other ways to learn your history, and there are other sources. I'm reminded of a poem that my mom used to have on the wall. I used to know it by heart. We used to say the poem, and I added a little bit to it, and especially about stamp collecting. And the title is, You Tell on Yourself. It goes, you tell on yourself by the friends you seek, by the manner in which you speak, by the way you employ your leisure time, by the use you make of every dollar or dime. You tell what you are by the things you wear, by the spirit by which your burdens you bear, by the kind of things at which you laugh, by the records you play on the phonograph. You tell what you are by the way you talk, by the manner in which you bear defeat, by so simple a thing as what you eat, by the books you choose from a well-defined shelf. In these ways and more, you tell on yourself. And I thought that's a wonderful poem, and I added a paragraph myself, a very short one. By the memorials you collect from heroes of yesterday, their spirits, images, and mentality with you will stay. So that I added to show the power of stamps and how it can impact and affect your lives. So we're going to kind of do a little chronological history through America as a republic, through stamps, lessons that you can learn through stamps. And I'm going to start with talking about a gentleman named Salem Poor. Salem Poor was a hero in the American Revolutionary War. Some people did not know there were many African Americans that participated in the Revolutionary War. And what happened with him, he volunteered to join the militia. And at this time, the Revolutionary War was the most integrated force in which the United States fielded up until the Vietnam War. So in it, Salem Poor, had behaved very admirably. He had been formerly a church member, and then he joined, and he really behaved himself very well, so well that 14 officers, including the Colonel William Prescott, submitted a petition to the General Court of Massachusetts, a reward for so great and distinguished gentleman who behaved like an experienced officer as well as an excellent soldier. So he performed very admirably, did Salem Poor, and the United States Postal Service made a stamp of Salem Poor. And as you tour the stamps this evening, you will see the image of Salem Poor, the Revolutionary War hero. Now, this Battle of Bunker Hill was a battle in which many people said the Republic was born after the Battle of Bunker Hill. These struggling young colonies thought that they could actually defeat the British after this war, that they were highly outnumbered and they were defending Boston at the Battle of Bunker Hill. And Salem Poor was one of the heroes, and these 14 officials who all signed their name said he had performed so admirably that he should be recognized. Another big hero of the Revolutionary War was a gentleman named Peter Salem. And Peter Salem was released from bondage so he could join the Minutemen and later the militia. So if certain white guys didn't want to fight, they could send their enslaved people to fight in their stead. So many African Americans fought in the Revolutionary War in that way. And Peter Salem fought very admirably as well. And it was this one major named Pitcairn who was leading the British Redcoats. And at this time, Peter Salem shot and killed Major John Pitcairn in the Battle of Bunker Hill. And that was memorialized as they made a monument to him in 1882. And he's become one of the most known heroes from the Revolutionary War also. And the U.S. Postal Stamp also made a very nice stamp of Peter Salem, and we have that stamp on the wall as well. So both of those stamps are here for your viewing. And also during this Revolutionary War period, we should learn just a little bit more about some of the other heroes in that war. So I'm going to call up someone before I get started. I'm going to let Miss Stephanie Baptiste again come and introduce our artists. We want to keep it moving tonight with not just a lecture on so many things at one time. So we're going to keep it moving with some music, etc. So I'm going to call Miss Stephanie Baptiste up at this point, and she can introduce an entertainer that's going to tell you a little bit about stamps and music and have some fun. Please, Stephanie.
Thank you, Mike. Let's give Mike another hand for all his great. He got too old to learn. So this next performer, he's a father, he's a songwriter, he's an artist, he's a promoter. He does it all. He travels all over the world performing his music. And he's also the creator and founder of Soul and Blues Live TV, where I'm the co-host, and DJ Jelly from V103 also. But he is here to perform his hit, Dip Baby. Come on, Poker Jones.
Hold on right quick. Can you stop the music? Can you stop the music? Can you stop the music? Can you stop the music right quick, please? Stop the music. I want to talk to the good people. I want to tell these good people a quick story. Y'all looking beautiful tonight. Y'all are looking good. Look at y'all. Quick story, ladies and gentlemen. True story at the same time. I wrote a record. It's called Dip Baby. The record was given to DJ Jelly from V103. He works for the local radio station here. And Mike Austin actually heard the record one night. He was riding back from somewhere out of town. I think he said he was sleeping or whatever. And the record woke him up. He said he liked the beat. He liked the lyrics of the record. He liked the fact that it was just a feel-good record. And he reached out to some people. To make a long story short, they reached out to me. Me and Mike connected. And that's the reason why I'm here tonight with you guys, ladies and gentlemen. And can I brag about myself a little bit, y'all? The record did make it all the way to Kiss 104. It's being played on local radio. So please, 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 after this performance, y'all get in touch with your local radio station and tell them you want to hear Dip Baby by Poker Jones. I'll give you a little bit about the record before the record starts. It goes a little something like this, ladies and gentlemen. I put my left hand behind my head, my right hand on her hips. I whispered in her ear, I told her, dip, baby, dip, baby. So when y'all hear that part, y'all make sure y'all say, dip, baby, dip. We're going to try it one time before we start the song. I put my left hand behind my head, my right hand on her hips. I whispered in her ear, I told her, dip, baby, baby. Boy, it look like y'all already got it. DJ, let's ride. Can you turn me up some?
Solo, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got them Jones boys. Jeter Jones and Poker Jones. People, y'all hear that? Come. That dance floor calling my name. That dance floor calling my name. That dance floor calling my name. So I'ma get out there and do my thing. I put my left hand behind my head, my right hand on her hips. I whispered in her ear, I told her, dip, baby, dip, baby. Once upon a time lived two southern boys. Everywhere they went, people love them boys. One named Poker, the other named Jeter. Ain't nothing like artists that do it for the people. Jeter told Poker, let's write a song. Something made the people dance all night long. Poker said, cool, I'll be back in a minute. The dance floor calling my name, I can hear it. That dance floor calling my name. That dance floor calling my name. That dance floor calling my name. So I'ma get out there and do my thing. I put my left hand behind in her ear, I told her, dip, baby, dip. On your march, get set, let's go. I've been waiting to get you on the dance floor. Right behind you, so don't even trip. Now when I dip, we dip, we dip. Hold up, little mama, have no fear. The king of trail ride done made it here. I whispered softly in her ear, girl, bring that thing over here. That dance floor calling my name. That dance floor calling my name. That dance floor calling my name. So I'ma get out there and do my thing. I put my left hand behind my head, my right hand on her hips. I whispered in her ear, I told her, dip, baby, dip, baby. Now if you came out to party, y'all take it to the floor. Work it overtime till you can't no more. You bought yourself a ticket, baby, welcome to the show. Cheetah Jones and Polka Jones, baby, let's go. That dance floor calling my name. That dance floor calling my name. That dance floor calling my name. So I'ma get out there and do my thing. I put my left hand behind my head, my right hand on her hips. I whispered in her ear, I told her, dip, baby, dip. Somebody say dip, baby. Say dip, baby. Say dip, baby. Say dip, baby. I put my left hand behind my head, my right hand on her hips. I whispered in her ear, I told her. Man, y'all such a good crowd. Give yourself a round of applause. Give yourself a round of applause. Thank y'all for having me. Please enjoy the rest of the show. I go by the name of Polka Jones. Make sure you call your local radio station and tell them you want to hear Dip, baby. Tell them you want to hear Dip, baby. Tell them you want to hear. Tell them you want to hear. Let me hear you say dip, baby. Somebody say dip, baby. One more time, y'all. Y'all enjoy the rest of the show. Enjoy the rest of the show. I gotta go.
Thank you very much. Polka Jones, dip, baby, dip. Good job in interpreting too. I saw your moves out here. Yeah, we saw that indeed. Okay, all right, that was excellent. Okay, next person I want to talk about is someone named Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable. And this man is known as the father of Chicago. He is recognized as the father of Chicago. He was the first permanent non-native settler of Chicago. He established the first trading post there at the mouth of the Chicago River and Lake Michigan. This was in 1779. So Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable had a vision of Chicago being a crossroads that would prosper. He was born in Haiti, what is now Haiti, to a French father and an African-American mother. And he came across to New Orleans and went on up the Mississippi, and he set up this trading post where he was a fur trader, a farmer, and an entrepreneur. Colonel D. Pester said he was a handsome Negro, well-educated, and of good character. He spoke French and Indian dialects. Native Americans loved him and trusted him. As a matter of fact, in 1780, when they appealed to the British who were protecting them, they wanted Du Sable to be the person that handled their affairs. He also won the confidence enough so that one of the princesses from the Native Americans was allowed to be his bride. And so they had a very nice marriage and lovely children and accumulated lots of things. He made a big impact on Chicago and on that territory. In 2010, the city of Chicago changed the Michigan Avenue Bridge and they renamed it the Du Sable Bridge. And that is the Du Sable Bridge. And I understand that just this year in July, they changed Lakeshore Drive, the most prosperous and famous drive in Chicago, to Du Sable Lakeshore Drive. So they have totally embraced this African-American man named Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable, and I think that we should know his name and his history. By the way, they have a very nice museum that Miss Mildred Burroughs started in 1961, the DuSable Museum. I've been there many times and bought many things from her. She was an excellent poet as well, and they have a lot of things named after DuSable in Chicago. So that's one person that the United States Postal Office did a beautiful job of representing him, and we have those stamps as well for you to see of DuSable, and it's kind of chronological order, so you will see him in order as you go around the exhibit room. The next person is a little controversial in that a lot of people did not know of the race of this man, John Audubon. Yes, the Audubon, who there are many Audubon societies, and we all know of his work with birds and painting birds and creating a book that's one of the best art books in the world even today. But his father also lived in what is now Haiti, and at that time it was owned by the French. And Jean Audubon had a mistress named Jean Rabin. Jean was a Creole from Louisiana, and from a Louisiana plantation. And she died when John James Audubon was only a baby. He also had many mixed race children from his housekeeper. What they did in Haiti at that time is many African American women, they made them housekeepers, but they were kind of like a second or third wife for the male that owned that particular plantation. And so Catherine, as she was what was called a quadroon, which meant she was 1/4 black. But even if you were 1/8 black, you were considered black by laws, customs, and habits. And you will remember even in 1896, Homer Plessy in the Plessy versus Ferguson case that led to the separate but equal Supreme Court decision. Homer Plessy was 7/8 white, and you could not even distinguish that he had that 1/8 black blood in him. But he went to jail that night for riding in the wrong portion of the transportation, and that's where the case that led to separate but equal in 1896 in New Orleans. And a lot of the Haitian culture that went to New Orleans that originated in Haiti. And that's where John Audubon came from. Now, John Audubon never acknowledged that he was black, and most people don't know and don't acknowledge it. I read it over 10 to 15 years ago that he was, and read it recently in another book that he definitely was. And there's even a book from the 1800s that talked about his mom being of African descent. So that is John Audubon. And he wrote, I'll just show you this book, because as I mentioned, at the end of the day, I am a book collector more than anything else. So he wrote this book called The Birds of America. It has some beautiful paintings. He wanted to capture the essence of every bird in North America. So Audubon did a fantastic job. It's a wonderful book, just many beautiful birds throughout. And yes, we have stamps from him that show also, the light is shining right on it on the wall now. It's the big one right there, and you can see it a little closer when we conclude. But that's a very beautiful art book, The Birds of America. And he was an ornithologist, and that's a person that loves and studies birds. And so I just want to tell you there's another famous historian, certainly for Mr. Baxter will know about him, Charlie Parker, one of the greatest saxophone players in the history of the world. He had an album they called Ornithology, because he was known as Charlie Yardbird Parker. So he also talked about that and named his album that for some great music. So this study of birds was made popular by John Audubon. But let me mention one more thing about someone in this time period. Now that was in 1940 that Audubon was on the cover of a United States postal stamp. But there was one other black person, and I'm going to call him a black person because he had enough black blood in him to be called black. His came out on April 8th, 1940, John Audubon, but it was not the first African American on the cover of a stamp. The first was a gentleman named Booker T. Washington. His stamp came out on April 7th, 1940, one day before Audubon. So Booker T. Washington is officially the first African American to be on a United States postal stamp from 1940. We also have that stamp on exhibit here from Booker T. Washington. So please feel free to engage in those stamps from that particular time period. So next, I'm going to just go right on. We were supposed to have a young lady that could not make it here to kind of introduce this next segment. But I'm going to go on and tell a little bit about kind of a moral and religious leader that impacted the country. And we have stamps from him as well. His name was Thomas Gallaudet. And Thomas Gallaudet graduated from Yale. He had a degree in education. He also studied theology. And Yale is right there in Connecticut. And he met a 9-year-old deaf girl, Alice Cogswell, and he tried to teach her through symbols and signs, and he had limited success. He later went to France, where sign language had been started in France, and he learned some sign language in France. So then Thomas Gallaudet came back to America and opened the first school for deaf people in Hartford, Connecticut. This was 1817, a very long time ago, the first deaf school that is still there in Hartford, Connecticut. And those kids from that American school for the deaf come to my deaf basketball camp many, many, many years. And Thomas Gallaudet, he came to the attention of the country on one other occasion. There was a slave ship named the Amistad, and some of you are familiar with the Amistad. Steven Spielberg did a movie about it in which 53 Africans were captured and kidnapped, but they had a mutiny on the ship, the Amistad, and they were taken to the port of New Haven, Connecticut, a coastal city and a port there, and nobody could speak to the Africans. The case was going all the way to the Supreme Court, and John Quincy Adams was going to represent the Africans, but they were looking for somebody that could communicate with them. They could find no one, and so they brought in Gallaudet. And they said, maybe you can communicate through sign language and learn something about them. And he was pretty effective. And at the end of his conferences, he said they are very intelligent. They understand why they're here. They understand there is a God. They seem to be very moral gentlemen. And at first he said they didn't trust me, but I let them know that I was a moral person, that I did not believe they should be enslaved. And they learned to trust him, and they developed a relationship. Later, of course, they did find someone who could speak their language. And also, you know, historically, that after that 1839 appearance, they did win their freedom. And John Quincy Adams did represent them very well. So later, Thomas Gallaudet married one of his former students, Sophia Flower. And they had 8 children and a very good life together. Thomas Gallaudet's youngest son was named Edward. And Edward wanted to take education to an even higher level for deaf people. So he started the first college for deaf people, and this was in 1864. And President Lincoln had to sign off on it. So on their original charter for this deaf college that would later be known as Gallaudet College and Gallaudet University was started right there with Lincoln's signature, and he served as president, did Edward, his youngest son, for 46 years. And the U.S. Postal Stamp did a very nice stamp of Thomas Gallaudet, who was a moral hero, a religious hero, and a hero to deaf culture, and really advanced things for deaf people. Now, we know one of the most famous people in American history who was also deaf was Helen Keller, who was a deaf-blind person, of course. And Helen Keller met a lady, Anne Sullivan, that really taught her a lot about how to communicate and how she could live her life and learn to be successful and independent. She was a lifelong friend and companion, was Anne Sullivan. And Helen Keller became a very successful woman, wrote 14 books, and she lectured and spoke up for people with disabilities. She was for women's suffrage. She was against Woodrow Wilson and the group of women that protested before his inauguration to get the 19th Amendment ratified. So she was very much for that, an original member of the ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union, and a supporter of the NAACP. And this is a copy of a book that she wrote of the 14 books, The Story of My Life. And Helen Keller met with every president from Grover Cleveland to Lyndon Baines Johnson. So she was very successful and graduated from Radcliffe College, which is the female coordinate of Harvard College, or now Harvard University. So there was a stamp at the 100-year anniversary of her birth that the postal stamp made. Also, beautiful stamp, and on the wall is right below the Audubon stamp, and you can see the stamp from Helen Keller also on the wall. But what I want to do now is just take a minute before we take a little intermission and bring up Willie Brown. Bring up Willie Brown to come forward. And Willie was a wonderful basketball player, played major college basketball at Hofstra University. And he also played 2 years at Georgia State, one of the first deaf people from a deaf institution to play major college basketball. He had a tryout with the Denver Nuggets. He worked out with the Atlanta Hawks. And now he's a referee, a Georgia high school referee certified, does state tournament games and does some college games. So I'm going to ask him just a few questions. I'll get Willie to come forward and stand right here. And I'll interpret. I'll give Daisy a little break. Thank you, you're doing a wonderful job, though. Okay, thank you for coming. And the first question is, when you were younger, did you hear about Helen Keller or Gallaudet? That's his sign. Did you know about them when you were young? Said, yeah, when I was young, really, it was hard. He didn't know much about Gallaudet nor Helen Keller when he was growing up. It was kind of difficult to learn those things. He became deaf a little late in life. He started to learn some about them in high school. He had heard about Gallaudet College, but didn't know that much about them here in Georgia, so didn't know that much, wasn't enough information. But then later, he started learning about Helen Keller, her history, and some things about Gallaudet. Did some research a little later in life, and then later, he had seen more and more and more about her, and he studied some more about her and learned a lot. Well, did Gallaudet try to recruit you to play basketball? He said, yes, they tried to recruit me to play. When he came out, he first went to college. Really, growing up, he didn't know much about deaf institutions and what was going on in the country. He thought he was the only deaf person, like really. And Gallaudet, the coach, explained about that college. He didn't know much in depth and said, oh, Gallaudet, college for deaf? So he was interested in it. But as time, he learned a little bit more about them. And it was a lot of deaf institutions were springing up that did little things with deaf people. But in the 9th grade, that she still hadn't visited there or anything like that. How would he develop? He was just a young kid. So did you visit the school, Gallaudet? No? Okay. Not coming out of high school. Okay, but after he had graduated from high school, and then he visited and saw it, and really he was concentrating on Hofstra University because they had a full scholarship for him. And Gallaudet didn't really have the full scholarships there, but why was that? It was more opportunities. It was Division I. It was talking and deaf kids. He wanted that challenge. So he had been to my camp and known I had played pro ball, so he wanted to see if he could do that kind of like I had played pro. And so he had asked me a lot of questions about that. And I said, you have to decide for yourself, Willie. And some of the teachers tried to advise him, but he decided to go to Hofstra University. And really, St. Mary's of California was recruiting him very hard. Both of them had good deaf programs, But Hofstra, why did he choose Hofstra? It was in New York. He had some family there. He was comfortable there. They had never seen him play, so he wanted to show them so they could be proud of him too. So it was hard for his family in the South to see him. So 2 years later, after some experience, he had good experiences there. He decided to change, and a lot of colleges had some opportunities for him. It was hard being a deaf person, though. He decided better he would recognize the opportunities there. Gallaudet was excited. It was a good opportunity. Georgia State had offered him a full scholarship, too. And so they had a good program there. So he was excited, and he decided to have a new life at Georgia State. He had gone to both schools, Hofstra and Georgia State. So it was very rare to have a deaf kid to go to 2 deaf colleges with full scholarships. So they had never been deaf kids that had done that before. So it was kind of hard, but it was a good experience for me. All right, that's good, Willie. And I want to tell them one more thing. Willie was an art major in college at Georgia State, and he was good at fixing things, and now he sets up all the exhibits for the frames, everything. He's been helping me for 15 years. He does it all. He can remember, he and I drove all the way to New Mexico, and we went to Chicago area in Illinois, Indiana, so a lot of different places. And the exhibit you see here, Willie set up every rail that we use every time. So thank you very much. Okay. Okay, now we have just a short intermission. Yes, what do you say, Mike?
Tony helped him out too.
Oh, yes.
Tony did the short stuff and Willie did the talk.
Well, I told Tony Noel, we picked him up along the way, and Greg White, we got some beautiful helpers as well, but we work them real hard, and Mike said, don't give them their food before they work, though. Make them work first. So Tony Noel, Tony, where are you in the room? Tony, thank you very much for helping as well. Tony, there he is. Tony, those two set it up for me, and one time I had to leave go out of town. They had to set the whole thing up and take it to a different location, so they do very well on that. Now, for this intermission, first of all, I want you all to meet who's going to be the new postmaster. This is in conjunction with the Postal Service. They are part of this exhibit also, as all these stamps come from the Postal Service. But Miss Valona Woods, we want to meet her, give her a few minutes to talk. She's going to be the new postmaster of the entire Atlanta region. Yeah. And so let's give her a hand and get her to come up, please, and say whatever she would like. We're just happy to have you.
All right. Mm-hmm. Thank you. And I'm so excited about being here among some great history in the room, right? When we look at these stamps, we all see a begin date. And in the middle, there's that dash. And that dash is what's going on in this room right now. It's everything that we're living, everything that we're touching, everything that we're moving, and all the barriers that's being broken. So I'm extremely excited to be your servant here for Atlanta as the postmaster. Very humbled to be the second African American woman to be the Atlanta postmaster. I shared that not because it was just significant, but because it shows something that's happening in our country. It's humbling. I was the first African American female postmaster of Tyler, Texas. You know about Tyler. So it's changed. Absolutely. And so I just really feel humbled every time I get an opportunity to walk in a door and leave my fingerprints and footprints. But in that dash, it's very important that we take others along and we continue to leave legacies that will inspire and motivate the others to come. So thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. We are extremely glad to be a part of this magnificent event today. I have in the room with me 2 of my area managers. They're really great. They're really supportive. And I couldn't do anything in this city without them. And they are Miss Sylvia Johnson. and Mr. Michael Burton. You know, leaders are only as great as their people, right? And a lot of people say, oh, take the lead. No, it's really them that run this city, and I just support them. But thank you for everything you do. We do have a couple of presentations we want to make at this time. So if I'll get them to come up. Mr. Moore, can you come up, please? Please, yeah. Is he back there? Is he coming? Okay, all right. This is a forever stamp of the National Museum in Washington, D.C. It is the African American History and Culture. If you're ever there, please go visit. It is a great place. There's a lot of historical artifacts there. It tells a lot of our stories there. And so this would be so befitting. We want to present it to you, well deserved, to add amongst all the rest of the artifacts that you have here in the museum.
Wow.
In addition to that, Mr. Glenn,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
come on down here. Come on.
All right.
You got all these great things going on in this room. We so
Thank
full,
you.
our hearts are full today. At least mine is, because when I see change and I see from where I could have been to where I am today, I'm humbled. I'm emotional inside because we are a blessed people and we should be proud of that. We should be proud of that. We really should be proud of that. These were at his request. Come on out here, Mike. He only had one, he got two. See, that's a double blessing, right? I know, that's right. Come on out here. Yeah, exactly. Some things that he requested.
Wow.
Yeah, that he didn't know that he was going to be able to receive. So these are some great forever stamps as well. A lot of history behind them. And for the sake of time, I won't go deep, but it's with great pleasure to be a representation of the Postal Service and be able to honor you with these two commemorative
Thank
stamps.
you so much. I love it. I love it, love it, love it a lot. Beautiful. Thank you. Get a picture of that? Y'all get a picture? Thank you. All right. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Again, thank you so much for having us here, be a part of this. And remember, in that dash, continue to write the stories.
Okay.
Look to your left and the right. You could be the next person on one of these stamps. And we'll be talking about your legacy. Y'all have a great rest of the evening, and thank you.
Thank you. All right, all right, all right. Ms. Woods, thank you much. Congratulations. Now, we have an unveiling that I must share with you. You know, you met Tony Noel, and I want him to come up also. But Tony had told me about his son was a really good artist, was building and getting better and better. So I started using him and using his art in my exhibits, and everybody has loved them almost as much as me. So, so I got him to do something for this one, and I'm going to not let Miss Woods, y'all hold her back, because she's going to love this and she's going to want it, I know. Also, Miss Bowden, I know she's going to love it as much. But come on up, Malcolm Noel is his son, who is just a brilliant young artist. And I want you all to meet Malcolm and Tony and, okay, Michael, help pull it out. You know where it is. Okay, so we're going to show this artwork that Malcolm did. I said, Malcolm, can you do this in color for me? He said, yeah, Mr. Glenn, I can do it. I trust you. I said, I trust you. I know how you roll. So we're going to show the artwork that he did that looks like a stamp. And I just think it's so beautiful. There it is. Look at this artwork that Malcolm did. Is that beautiful or what? It's Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable, the founder of Chicago. It's a beautiful picture. I'm not going to take it to that Du Sable Museum because I know I wouldn't get out of there with it alive. But he did it and gave it to the foundation, and we're going to proudly show and exhibit the artwork of Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable, the founder of Chicago, Malcolm Noel, the artist. Let's give him a big hand. Good. Thank you very much. Now, Ms. Baptiste, yes, Ms. Baptiste, I think you wanted to introduce the next person. We'll keep it moving, having fun.
All right, everybody, this is just so amazing. I've learned so much. I think I want to go back to college and get me a degree in stamp collecting. Okay, you guys, first of all, we have to acknowledge our sponsors. So we would like to thank Clint Rains of State Farm Insurance and Smoke Free Atlanta and Southeast Mortgage Company. Of course, we have to thank Apex Museum for allowing us to use the place. Let's give them a hand. And I can't forget the U.S. Postal Services. All right, so right now we're gonna take an intermission, so if you guys need to go to the restroom, get something to drink, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna have someone else perform. So y'all put y'all dancing shoes on, because I'm gonna make y'all dance when the next person come up, okay? All right.